Violet, can you hear us?
Sorry, my headphones weren't working, but I can hear you now.
Okay.
Are you ready for roll call?
Yeah, we're good with roll call.
Okay. Pretty thin crowd here today, but I will go through. We have myself, Violet Plummer, Caroline Bean, Chris Lounsbury, Dave Strohmeyer, Emmy Bristow, Josh Slotnick, Juanita Vero, Sarah Cofield. A number calling in at 4410. Is that Tom?
Yes, that's me.
Hi, Tom. So we have Tom Tucker, Emily Herndon, Leif Fredrickson, and MCAT. Did I miss anybody? Over to you, Juan.
Okay, thanks. Well, it's a bummer we have such a thin crowd because, yeah, we have some good folks. So we'll go ahead. We'll start with you, Leif, and then go to Caroline.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
And can I share my screen? Is that possible?
Yeah, you should. Let's see
Okay,
here.
now.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with Microsoft Teams. Where do I share this screen?
It's a little share button that has a little up arrow in it. It should be.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Let's see. Can you see that PowerPoint now?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, well, thanks for having me. I'm Leif Fredrickson. I'm the coordinator for the Missoula County COVID-19 Documentation Project. So this project began, well, it really began almost immediately at the beginning of the pandemic. There was a number of members of our community that recognized that this was going to be a really watershed historical event, probably one of the most important historical events of the 21st century. And and people were interested in trying to document this event. Because we know, and many of the people involved with this were historians, but also work as, the county commissioner, David Strohmeyer, and others, know that many of these historical events, when we look back on them, we wish that we had had much better documentation of them. So a number of institutions and individuals got together early in the pandemic to try to think about how we could document this. And eventually what came out of this is this project. And the idea is to try to document the experiences and response of our local community, the Missoula community, to this pandemic. And the reason, there are, I think, a number of reasons why this is important. One is that in the future, this documentation may be useful for responding to future pandemics or even other crises more broadly, thinking about how a community facing some sort of crisis that reaches into all sorts of aspects of life can come together and respond to that. So part of it's that sort of practical aspect of it. And then part of it is just the fact that, people want to understand huge events like this pandemic. And maybe they want to do that right now, and maybe they want to do that in the future, or maybe, our children will want to understand that, but there is a deep need for understanding and constructing histories about what happened to us. So this will all hopefully feed into that. Yeah, so there's the sort of purpose of it. Yes, and as I mentioned, this emerged in the spring of 2022. Early on, we set up an online submission system. And some of the key groups involved with this were Missoula County, David Strohmeyer, the University of Montana History Department, and the University of Montana Archives, the Historical Museum at Fort Missoula, Missoula Downtown Partnership, some of the other local history museums around Missoula County, the Upper Swan Valley Historical Museum, the Seeley Lake Historical Society, and other groups and businesses as well. And one of the things the University of Montana Archives did early on was set up an online submission system, so individuals could submit anything about, that was relevant to the pandemic. They could submit stories or photos or poems or all kinds of things. And at the same time, we had with these groups of individuals and institutions that were interested in documenting this, we had regular meetings to try to think about, how on a voluntary basis we might be able to preserve some documents related to the pandemic. But we also wanted to find some way to fund this project because it really takes a lot of resources to systematically document something like this. And so in the summer of 2021, spearheaded by Commissioner Dave Strohmeyer, we were able to secure some funding through the CARES Act that most of which went towards paying for a digital system for organizing the archive and making that archive accessible. And then part of that money also went to funding a coordinator position to coordinate finding documents and sort of assessing what documents were out there from different groups and doing about 20 oral histories. So we got that money in the summer of 2021. In the fall, we sort of started the project and it's been ongoing. And we'll probably sort of end that funded portion of it in this fall. But the project will be ongoing. The archive will be ongoing in the sense that the University of Montana Archives will continue to collect documents related to it. There may be future oral history projects that will collect more oral histories for it as well. So just to give you a sense of how this works, this is the online digital system that I mentioned that this funding helps support buying. There is the self-submission system, so people that have submitted to the UM portal, which is down here, their documents will be available through this COVID-19 documentation project page. Then we're also meeting with local organizations, local government entities, local nonprofits, businesses, to see what documents they have, which could be memos or emails or signs they put up, all kinds of different things. Collect those and get those to the University of Montana Archives, where they can be organized and digitized and made available through this site. And then the oral histories, as I said, we're doing about 20 oral histories, and those are with, sort of a cross section of people in local government, people in nonprofits, businesses, and so on, to get a sense of how to, sort of more flesh out how those different institutions responded to different aspects of the pandemic, whether it was schools, business closures, housing issues, public health initiatives, and so on. And there are also other related projects that are going on that will also be included in this. So the University of Montana History Department is also conducting its own set of oral histories that will be folded into this project as well. And as I said, it's open for ongoing additions in terms of both oral histories and document collections. There's a lot of different communities that are doing something like this in some way. There, many places recognize that this was going to be a big deal and set up, some sort of program to try to collect and document some aspects of this. So a lot of places have systems like we have for self-submission of things, but not many places have such a well resourced and financed project to systematically collect oral histories and documents from groups. There are many projects out there, and I don't pretend to know what all of them are, but from what I can tell, our project is pretty unique. For the size of our community, we are really making a tremendous effort to try to document what has happened during this profound event. So, and you can just see, this just gives you a sense of some of the different, if you just search for this stuff, you'll find all kinds of different programs out there to document aspects of this. And here are ours. And I mean, I don't know how these search algorithms work, but ours show up pretty early when I do a search anyways. But in any case, ours is I think quite distinctive in how systematic and how in the funding put into documenting it. So as I said, we're coming up to the end of this sort of funded portion of it. I'm completing some final oral history interviews, and we're trying to collect some more documents from institutions and get those online. But again, our hope is that individuals can keep submitting documents in the online portal, which I'll show you in just a second. And again, anybody who has, from the Missoula area, who has materials related to the pandemic, we would love to have your submissions of those. If there are organizations out there that have documents, again, we would love to be in touch with them and see, if we can get some of those into the archives. And as I said, hopefully we'll do more oral histories in the future. And a final product of this funded portion of it will be a short report that kind of reflects on this process of documenting this major crisis. And the hope is that report can also inform future efforts to document crises, whether that's in Missoula or in other places as well, because as I said, I think Missoula's response here is quite distinctive, and so other communities may be able to learn from that as well. Let me just show you really quickly the what this site looks like. So this is what it is when you go to it here. This is the URL up here is one you can use. There's also another one that takes you to the same place that may be easier to remember. It's missoula.co/COVID documentation. Both will take you to this site here. And here's where you can start, you can explore what is on here so far. We have more stuff that hasn't been added to this and so on. So there will be more coming, but there is some on here, and you can go to things like the oral histories and see and listen to some of these oral histories. Just to give you a sense of some of this, we have some clips on here. So here is an oral history interview with Adrienne Beck, who was the director of emergency response for Missoula County.
I think that so if there's one thing that this pandemic has done, and I think it's probably been overstated, is that it has laid bare all of the chinks in our armor.
So there's some other short clips on here that you can listen to, or you can listen to, whole interviews, most of which are, an hour and a half to 2 hours long. So they're very, very in-depth interviews. And then you can explore records, documents from Missoula County. Here is a local business that provides elder care, and there'll be other documents put up on here eventually as well. And then this is the portal. So this is the individual submissions that have been submitted so far, and this is what that individual submission page looks like. So again, if people have anything, we would love to have you submit any of that. And you can see the URL up there, but also if you just go to our About section of this page, you can see this link here takes you to that same submission page. So you can navigate to it there. Okay, so I will stop there. And if people have any questions right now, I can answer them. I probably left some stuff out, so I'm happy to address anything I might have forgotten.
And there's a recent tip of the spear with Leif.
Yes.
On the county podcast. Check it out.
Yes. And the Missoulian just came out with an article about this, I think 2 days ago, and a few other news organizations as well. So.
Yeah, thanks so much, Leif. Do folks have any questions?
Sure, I have a question. Like, what's kind of one of the more kind of like really interesting oral histories that you found that surprised you?
I mean, they were all really interesting. I mean, one of them that is not up here yet, but will be soon, is with Ellen Leahy, who was the Missoula City County Public Health Director. And she was really interesting to talk to because she had done her own historical research on some past pandemics, including the 1918 flu in Missoula and smallpox in Montana. So she had a strong interest in history, and history had influenced how she approached public health in a general way. And so that was really interesting to get her perspective on that, and also to think about how our documentation of this then might, in a similar way, guide future public health experts.
Any more questions or comments? Come on, Dave, you got it.
Yeah, I would love to comment.
This.
Yeah, thanks, Leif. This is pretty exciting to see this come together as it has. Folks will oftentimes ask us what we do in county government, and typically folks might think fairly narrowly that county government makes sure that someone picks up the phone when you call 911 or fills potholes or not, if you don't think we're doing a good job maintaining roads. But I think this demonstrates a way in which we can take a more expansive view of thinking about how we work together as a community. And in this case, I think it does everything that Leif laid out in terms of it's a way, this project is a way to not only document this event for future generations and anyone who might be interested in the history of how this thing unfolded in Missoula County, but also serve a very useful and pragmatic role in helping us figure out how to be more resilient the next time something like this, or not necessarily a pandemic, but a crisis of some sort rises to the level that it needs this amount of community response. So I'm super proud of all of the volunteer community members who've stepped up, and again, like Leif said, this is not the end of the road here. This is rolling out in a public way what has been collected thus far, and also providing a portal by which folks can continue to contribute their submissions. And if we've not noticed it, we are not completely out of the woods on this pandemic yet either. So it's still an ongoing thing.
Bert?
Yes, what?
Oh, I didn't know if you were asking Leif something.
No, I just joined. I've been out working in the yard and lost track of time. Sorry.
Okay. Well, Leif, thank you so much. Oh, sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Quick question, Tilly. Is there a section, or are there people talking about the long haulers, which, as we've been talking, this isn't the end of the road for the pandemic. It's definitely not the end of the road for any long haulers in the county. And is there a section for that, or are there people speaking on that already that have posted?
You know, I've discussed that a little bit with some of the public health folks. We don't have something specifically on that, but that would be, it may be that people have submitted something about that on the individual submission page, and I haven't seen that. I would love, you know, that's a really important aspect of this. The other thing is, you know, I mentioned briefly that the University of Montana History Department is also doing some oral histories, and they are, we've focused a lot on getting some, you know, people who are administrators and politicians, heads of nonprofits and so on. That other oral history project is in some ways focusing a little bit more on some like everyday people. So it may also capture some of the experience of some people that are those long haulers that you've mentioned.
Great. Thanks so much, Leif.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, there's links in the chat to both of these. Thanks, Emmy. Well, if we don't have anything more for Leif, we have Caroline Bean, who's our Climate Action Program Manager, and Wildfire Smoke Ready. I mean, let's enjoy these beautiful 4 or 5 days of summer we're supposed to have, and then prepare for wildfire smoke.
I know it's kind of hard after the nice cool beginning to summer and then a transition into some of the less fun parts of summer. And I also have Sarah Cofield, air quality specialist from the City County Health Department, joining us as well. Let me share my screen. Can you all see that all right?
Yep, it looks good on my end.
Okay, great. So just to lay out how we're gonna start today's presentation, and of course my dogs start barking right at the moment where we're at the title slide, but I'm gonna give some background on the planning processes that are behind Wildfire Smoke Ready Week and how we came to doing this type of coordinated education and outreach event. And then Sarah's gonna delve into the details of what we did last year and what we have planned for this year. And then we hope to get your input and ideas for ways that we can make it even better this year. And the reason I provide some of this background on the growth policy and the planning processes behind it are because Wildfire Smoke Ready Week is really a wonderful example of a planning process being implemented and seeing implementation in action. So in 2016, the Missoula County Growth Policy wrote that Missoula County seeks to reduce its contribution to climate change while promoting resiliency and adapting to its impact on the natural environment and communities. And to have this in our growth policy really enabled us to do a lot more expansive work on climate. And so if you break that down, it's kind of two separate parts here. We want to reduce our contribution to climate change. This is known as mitigation. It's things like putting solar panels on our roofs, the work we've done at the detention center, trying to help people take more sustainable modes of transportation. And then the other side of that coin is adapting to the impact on the natural environment and communities. And this is things like preparing for wildfire smoke, preparing for hotter summers. And then another way to think about it is we want to avoid the unmanageable by reducing our impact, but still we need to manage the unavoidable because there are impacts of climate change that are coming that are unavoidable. And so this Wildfire Smoke Ready Week sits at the manage the unavoidable place. And so over 2 years, from 2018 to 2020, we did a really massive community outreach and workshop sessions to develop the Climate Ready Missoula Plan, our countywide climate adaptation plan. There's Commissioner Vero and Commissioner Strohmeyer there. Oh, sorry, Dave, your eyes are closed in that photo from many years ago. And so over 2 years, we started first by looking at what are the climate impacts that Missoula County can expect to experience. And in a nutshell, it's hotter, drier summers with longer wildfire seasons, warmer and wetter springs, warmer and wetter winters and springs with more flooding. And yet still a lot of climate variability so that this idea of the typical year is a thing of the past. And despite all of those impacts, we're also relatively insulated compared to large population centers on the coast that might experience sea level rise. So we're also expecting climate migration and perhaps population increase due to climate impacts in other parts of the country. So that was step one in the planning process. And then we asked community members and citizens across the county, so given these impacts, who and what is most vulnerable? And we had people identify vulnerabilities across our community. You can see here on the human health snapshot, one of the things that was hard to respond to and really serious to deal with was the impacts of smoke on people. So it's a high vulnerability. And then the last and final part of our planning process was asking people, all right, if this is who and what is most vulnerable, what are we going to do about it? What actions can we take as a county? And so we have 8 different sectors in the final version of the plan, at 29 different goals and 77 strategies. So we have a lot of good work to do. And one of those sectors is wildfire, smoke, heat, and health. And a big part of our goals and strategies in that sector was to do a coordinated education campaign, really get the message out about wildfire smoke and the impact to human health, and as well empower people and give them the resources to take action to clean their indoor air and stay healthy when it's smoky outside. with that, I'll pass it over to Sarah to talk a little bit about what we did last year and what we have planned for this year.
Great, and I'll just have you advance slides. So last year was our very first Wildfire Smoke Ready Week. It was also the first one in the state of Montana. Definitely drew from some experience of Wildfire Smoke Ready Weeks in other states, where this is kind of a new concept of a large public health campaign to get the word out about wildfire smoke that really got started within just the last 5 years. So we formed a coalition, which has been really exciting for me after some years of being really just me and Climate Smart, throwing things at the wall. But bringing on Caroline has been phenomenal. And the United Way really came to the table, and the MCFPA, the Fire Protection Association, has been a funding partner. So it's been really fantastic to have more partners to help us increase our reach and vary our messaging and look at new ways of getting information out there. So this is a slide from our social media campaign from 2021, wherein we spent an entire week with different messages throughout the week of trying to flood social media with as many partners sharing as we could with just really short messages about smoke, what people could know, what they could do, and where they could get more information. And we are directing everyone to MontanaWildfireSmoke.org, which is a terrific website run by Climate Smart Missoula that has just a wealth of information about things you also know about smoke and how to prepare and get through a smoky summer. So go ahead and move that forward. So we kicked off the week with proclamations about Missoula's Wildfire Smoke Ready Week by the Board of County Commissioners and the mayor. So that was really to have like an official, we are focusing on this. It's a priority for local government in both the city and the county, and really kind of throwing that support and showing that support for really living up to our commitment put forth in our Climate Ready Missoula plan. We, in addition to, social media proclamation, wanted to target folks who have no opportunity to really get out of the smoke, like our outdoor workers. So we tabled at farmers markets and provided handouts of information for people who are agricultural workers and are going to be out in the smoke very likely, and giving them some information of what they should know about the risks and how they can protect themselves as best as they can. There are no regulatory protections for outdoor workers from wildfire smoke in the state of Montana, but we can at least try to provide some good information and go out to folks. So we tabled at farmers markets to reach both the farming community itself as well as folks who attended those markets. We had a beer that Imagination Brewing made for us called Deep Breath. And so we had a tasting of this beer where our elected officials got to compare Deep Breath, which is a lovely IPA, to a version of it with liquid smoke added to, which is better, a future with smoke or a future, not as smoky. One side of the can, you can see it's this lovely mountain scene. On the other side, that can is on fire. And we also did an Ask an Expert, where folks could come and hear from me about how to clean indoor air in residential settings. And then we had our engineer buddy, Tom Javins, who was the facility manager at the university for a long time and is an expert in all things HVAC systems and has been a tremendous help to us over the last several years in understanding commercial spaces. He was able to provide really great information about HVAC systems and commercial spaces and what folks can do. So it was really fun to be able to have this in-person event to talk about smoke and also have some tasty beverages. So next slide. And here's just a close look on the poster we made to advertise it. And you can see the can graphics on that. So that was a fun thing we did last year. It was really a neat event. So like. Another thing that happened last year is some actual interventions wherein All Nations Health Center and Climate Smart Missoula and the Food Bank all participated in efforts to get air cleaners or DIY air cleaners, which are a box fan with a high efficiency furnace filter, out to some of our vulnerable Missoula County residents. All Nations, they were able to use a grant that they secured with, I think it was COVID monies, to buy air cleaners that they gave out to some of their clients. And Climate Smart was able to collect donations enough to buy quite a few fans and filters that they passed out at the food bank, and they went really fast. There was a clear appetite within our community for folks to have access to a way to clean their indoor air. So that was a really neat thing that those organizations all participated in last year. Slide. So we got through our Smoke Ready Week 2021. We learned a lot. We also did a lot of advertising in radio ads and print, and really trying to flood the airwaves as best we could with messaging, and really try to get folks ready for smoky summer. It was already smoky in July of 2021. If you guys recall, this first smoke came in on July 8th. And our event started on July 12th. So that was, at least top of mind, hopefully, for folks. And there was still plenty of months ahead for people to start cleaning their indoor air. But it was a great event. It was a great opportunity to partner with a lot of folks and try to get some messaging out. So we'll go forward. So we are getting ready for Smoke Ready Week 2022. Which is going to be July 9th through 16th, which is actually Saturday through Saturday, which we wanted to do in order to pick up multiple farmers markets and get to weekend events as best we could, and not focus on just the business week. And we needed to avoid the marathon and the July 4th holiday. So we're letting up almost right where we were last year, but I'm optimistic that it won't be smoky yet on July 9th this year. So we're getting ready to kick off with that. We have radio ads in the pipeline to go out on a lot of different stations throughout Missoula County. That we're going to have our ad with Caroline recording, and then we're also going to air our jingle that a local musician, Travis Yost, wrote for us last year. That jingle will also air on streaming services. We have billboards, which is new this year. There's currently one up on I-90, and in July, that billboard will be on Brooks and Paxton. So I'm excited for that. That's our very first year having billboards. We're going to be handing out a lot of posters and pamphlets as in locations as best we can. The boat check at Clearwater Junction is going to hand out pamphlets for us that week, which is pretty fun. And then we want to get posters up where as many eyes will see them in different parts of the county. Obviously, we'll do our social media campaign again. We're going to have articles in local papers. I just got a commitment to get stuff into the Seeley's Fawn Pathfinder during Smoke Ready Week, and we'll have stuff in the Missoula Current, and plan to reach out to Missoulian to get stuff in Missoulian as well. And then any newsletter we can get our little blurb in, we're going to be trying to do that as well. And then, of course, we'll be tabling at community events such as Out to Lunch and farmers markets. And we're going to try to also get to farmers markets outside of Missoula and really expand our messaging, because smoke doesn't care if you're in the town of Missoula. It can be anywhere. And we want to make sure we get our messaging about how to stay protected from smoke to our entire community. So this is an example of our handouts and pamphlets. We have our poster where we've distilled the many thousands of words that I've written on the subject down to about 100, which was a feat that I'm fairly proud of us managing to do. And then we have a trifold handout that has quite a bit more information, and both of these still direct people to MontanaWildfireSmoke.org, so people can either see that poster at a store or somewhere, or pick up a pamphlet where we're tabling, and have easy route to learn more. Slide. And so this is where you guys come in. We are wanting to reach deeper into the county and really have as many folks learn about creating cleaner indoor air spaces and staying protected from smoke as possible, because it's an issue that affects all of us.
And I'll stop sharing my screen so we can all see each other a little bit more.
Thanks, Sarah. Caroline. I mean, Sarah, I feel like you need to have like a cape, a superhero, Yeah. Your blog pieces are just incredible. So I hear so many compliments and references to your weekly updates. And hopefully they won't have to be as dire this year. And it's really encouraging to hear that you're thinking that we might not be as smoky come July 9th.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, like I'm looking at the forecast and it's gonna dry out really fast. And we have a lot of fine fuels, but I'm figure it's not gonna be 90s that much right away, so we'll see. And the lightning, the monsoons and the lightning won't start coming up until, later in July, so fingers crossed.
Emily?
I'll get myself off mute. Sarah, as always, I enjoy your snarkiness during the your blog post too. So it's always appreciated. But number one, I'm sure you've already partnered up with you said Missoula the food bank. Apologize. Motorcycles going by. Because I know that Bonner Milltown has their bi-weekly food distribution every 2 weeks. So getting it out that way. Number two, I absolutely loved your fan filter from last year. So please put that back up. Was that the one with, maybe I saw it somewhere else. You had a picture of it just a little bit ago with the filter and the fan, the homemade filter device. Please put that back up or information on how to do that, because I used that last year working out in my rural community. That was huge, because I've got so many of my patients that lack resources to buy a very expensive HEPA filter. And so being able to provide that, just little information, was phenomenal for so many of my patients that were breathing impaired and multiple health conditions. So I really appreciate that. So just get the word out to us, please. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Yeah, in that way, do you mean make sure it's featured prominently on our website, or would you also like to see like a handout that's focused on just here's how to make one?
I would love both. You know how to get a hold of me, both of you. Okay.
Anyone else have questions or comments for Sarah or Caroline? Okay, well, thanks, everyone. We're moving along here.
Oh, I'll just add one thing in response to the expense of the commercial portable air cleaners. So one thing, it's sort of time sensitive, but Northwestern Energy has a rebate for Energy Star portable air cleaners going on right now. It's $100 off per unit. So that brings it down to around $50 a unit. And the DIY option that Emily was mentioning is about $40. So really good deal. They are only guaranteeing the rebate till the end of June. So I'll put the link in the chat for you all to fill it out. But that's another great way to get a low cost filter.
Yeah, thanks for that, Caroline. Okay, well, it looks like we're gonna hear from the rest of our community council members, see who's here.
Okay, I'll just kind of run through by council. We have 4 councils representing today, so not too bad. The council that gets the gold star today is Bonner Milltown, because we have Bert and Emily on the line. Bert and Emily, any questions or updates from Bonner Milltown?
I've got one little thing, and of course, Emily is standing in for our chair, but I think it's fantastic that we get to see talk to a lot of people that are behind the scenes and give us information as to what's going on in the county and what's going on in various departments and what kind of information is actually available to us. I've said multiple times, excuse me, that I think this has been a phenomenal experience for all the councils to have these meetings on a monthly basis. It's great. So thank you to the commissioners for doing this, and thank you for all of the department heads and the people, the grunt people, the people that actually do the work. Okay, commissioners get the credit, but the people do the work. But thanks. It's great to have them on, and I'm going to shut up.
I'll second everything Bert just said, because yeah, this is hugely valuable. I know I post regularly after these things and try to get that information out. But last month we had a lot of speakers. So we had we had the wildlife management for talking about bears. We had feedback on, so we had a lot of the stuff that we had last time, the building officials and the feedback on the building permits, wildlife preparedness, and we had the CAPS there talking about the land use fees. So we've just been busy doing that. We're going to still stay virtual meetings until we figure out internet, right, Bert? And then
Yeah, that's right.
And then going forward on the West Bonner Log Yards proposed subdivision on trying, so we are going to actively communicate to a broader range around that subdivision so that they know where they can make public comment regarding that. So you can probably speak better to that, Bert, too. So that is what we've been up to.
I did want to toss out something though. When the county took over the Bonner, the West Riverside Park and the barn, apparently the website, the Wi-Fi got cut for cost. And I would hope that maybe the commissioners could find a nickel or a dime from here and there and get the Wi-Fi back in there so we could have joint or what do you call them, hybrid sessions.
We would like hybrid sessions because we
But-
find yeah.
Yeah, if you can't find the money, that I can accept that, but I would like to ask you to look for it. Wi-Fi is not that expensive.
I didn't know that had happened, so thanks, Bert. We'll look into it.
Yeah, thanks.
That's all on our end.
And what is your guys' platform that you use? We were just up in Condon last night. And yeah, what's the platform you guys use for your meetings?
Zoom.
And
And-
how's,
Yeah.
oh, go
How
ahead, Dave.
much how much do you guys pay per month for your license?
I'd have to look at it, Dave. We don't pay by the month. We just bought a year, and it was like 120.
For and how many minutes is there any limit?
I
No.
don't remember. When you get the basic plan, there's a limit to the number of people, but I think they did away with that too.
Yeah,
I think our
Lisa
friends in
and Emily are
Condon were
shaking their heads.
getting sold a bill of goods. They were talking like $200 or $300 a month. So that didn't seem quite right.
No, it's and we got it as a personal thing. I mean, the council's paying for it, but it's actually in my name. And so it's an individual price, maybe rather than a county price or a state price or a corporate price. I just went out and ordered it and got it, and we use it as the council's Zoom.
We'll have them reach out to you because I think they need to chat with you.
Okay.
Yeah, that number sounds pretty outrageous.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Bert. Thanks, Emily. We'll go over to East Missoula, and we have Lisa Thomas. Any questions or updates?
Not a lot of updating. We didn't meet. We don't meet in the summer, so our next meeting will be in September. I know we're being involved with that parcel over at the end of summers, and there've been some developments and meetings. I did want to ask when the next meeting is, if any of the commissioners know the date of the next meeting coming up at the end of the month.
Which development are you talking about, Lisa?
There's another meeting coming up, and I know that the 1 foot no access is the topic.
That's the 30th.
Well, Karen has her hand up.
30th, okay. 30th. Okay. And what time?
Yeah, that's a commissioner meeting. I think it's at 1.
1.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna be putting that on the East Missoula Community Council Facebook page so people know about it.
And Lisa, the Missoula County Voice, the Water's Edge page on Missoula County Voice has all the information from the meetings between the developers, the community members, and the Water's Edge neighbors. As we've been holding those meetings, we've been posting any documents, agendas, meeting notes to that site.
Where's
It also has all of the meeting dates.
And what was that again? Where is it? We'll put that
It's
on.
the Missoula County Voice page.
Oh, okay.
I think Amy just posted it for you.
Just got put in the chat.
Okay.
So that's a great resource to send people to. We just put there was a letter from the city about annexation and a updated traffic impact study done by the development team that we just added to the documents on that page.
I'm not seeing it in the chat.
Maybe-
Okay. All right. Well, Ryan Alter is our member who does the Facebook stuff now. So, okay. But other than that, we're just enjoying that it's not raining. I'll say that. And thank you to everyone.
Thanks, Lisa. I'll also be sure everybody to put all these links in my follow-up email tomorrow. So all the resources that have been mentioned so far, we'll have clickable links out to everyone tomorrow.
Thank you.
Let's see. We will go over to Seeley Lake. We have Tom Browder on the call.
Okay, thanks. I think I'm unmuted, right? Do you hear me?
Yep.
Good. So first thing, I have to plug one of our Seeley Lake inspired events, which is the McLean Festival this weekend. You've probably seen some of the publicity. It will be at the Wilma, Saturday and Sunday. It's free. And all you have to do is register. So if you want to listen to some wonderful, like national environmental, it's public land and sacred spaces. We have a lot of native writers. So it's a busy weekend because the marathon's going on. But if you can spare Saturday or Sunday afternoon, or actually all day, come to the Wilma. Otherwise, we're doing hybrid meetings. I have to admit, as the kind of the technologist in charge, we don't quite have all the nuances down. The sound sometimes sucks. I think we're doing better with the video than the audio, but I think we will have a July meeting. We will not meet in August. We don't typically. But I think as councils, and this is having been elected chair now, I guess I'll have some influence on this. I think hybrid meetings are important, particularly those of us farther out, because especially presenters who may be in Missoula or Helena or wherever, it's much easier for them. We are back to, we use the barn, we have some sound problems, but I do think, and this is something maybe as a group of councils, we can help one another, just, the best kind of webcam, the best, just how to make it work. Otherwise, love the cat. The tourist season is underway up here and, it's nice and green. We've had lots of rain, so things are pretty good. But if you have a chance, stop in at the Wilma Saturday or Sunday and check out our festival. That's it.
Thanks, Tom. Let's see. I think we had, I believe it's Dan Sari from Swan Valley join the call. Dan, do you have any questions or updates from over in Swan Valley? Not to put you on the spot.
Well, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. I'm sitting out on the deck here. I joined the meeting late. I was over at Owl Creek Packers Camp doing some things for the Forest Service. for the Backcountry Horsemen, so I was a little late getting to the meeting. So now I'm sitting on the back porch here, and I thought, oh boy, I'm a little late for the meeting, so I better make the call. So here I am, and the news here, the only thing going on here is our battle for the transfer station, which gets to be quite interesting. We had a few commissioners there last night, all three, matter of fact.
Josh couldn't make it, but he was there in spirit, Dan.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. But anyway, it was.
I was at another event on the other side of the county.
Maybe keeping the peace somewhere else. We had an interesting meeting. Where it's going to go, I don't know. We had a, I guess some of the people here don't understand that we have 700 residents and 115 have been heard from, and they would like to slam the door on the whole process, but that doesn't give the other 575 people a voice. So they would like to end the process and throw it out the window and quit, but we're not going to do that quite yet. We're going to look at some other things. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But it's the democratic process, and everybody gets a chance to be informed. So that's what's going on here. And before my sweetheart gets much closer with that lawnmower, I better get off here. We're going on a 4-day motorcycle trip this weekend, so we need to get some stuff done before we go. And mowing the lawn is one, and she's elected, so I'll sign off, and that's all that's going on in Condon right now. There's been no gunfights or anything going on here lately, so we're all in good shape.
Keep it quiet.
All right.
Have a safe trip, Dan.
All right, thanks.
Thanks so much, Dan. And then last I have on my list is Tom Tucker with West Valley Community Council.
So anyway, at our last meeting here last Thursday, we decided to take the summer off from the month of July and August. Will start up again in September. So we had a gal out from the county talking about the zoning, and that was about it. It was a short meeting, so we're having trouble getting turnout, but we want to get better at advertising, so that's about all we got.
Thanks so much, Tom. I think that's everybody I had on my list, but does anybody else have any last minute questions, comments, thoughts?
Violet, it's Tom again. One thing I'd like everyone to know is we think Seeley is the oldest community council, and our weekly paper, the Pathfinder, has been running a series on 35 years ago, what was happening. Well, 35 years ago in September, the Seeley Lake Community Council held its inaugural meeting. I found the article in the Missoulian. So we may not be the oldest, but 35 years is a pretty good run. So I thought I'd share that with everyone.
That's great.
That's great.
I have a comment. I just rethought everything I was saying a while ago. When I said we paid 120 or whatever, that was for Zoom. That wasn't for the Wi-Fi. I don't know what Wi-Fi, what it would cost to connect on Wi-Fi or set up for Wi-Fi in the barn, but I will be willing to find out.
Cool, thank you. And it looks like Karen had put in the chat that they've been in touch with, I'm sorry, I'm not sure which barn you were talking about. I was thinking the barn up in Condon.
No, there's a red barn down here in
red barn. Sorry.
West Riverside. Yeah.
Yes.
The park in West Riverside.
Yeah. I'm sorry. And
hey, Juanita,
Yeah.
since Karen's tuned in here, Karen, what do you know about the Wi-Fi getting turned off at the barn?
I don't know anything about it. I was gonna message Juniper and ask.
Travis told me they turned it off because it was because of cost, and they weren't, the barn's not making a profit, not even breaking even on with maintenance costs and everything. But so they turned it off, and I was just curious if we could get it turned back on.
We can check. Missoula County doesn't make a profit either, so
God, I hope not. Yeah, Juanita, it's the barn where you and I met out in the parking lot after whatever.
Yep. No, thank you. Okay.
I got a question for Bert.
Okay, I'm here.
The Wi-Fi is free as long as your router will connect to the internet. Do you have internet out there?
Well, we gotta have the internet. That's the question.
Well, if you don't have internet, the Wi-Fi don't mean nothing. So
No.
your modem needs to connect to the internet, and then your Wi-Fi comes with the modem.
Yeah, well, I think when I talk of Wi-Fi, I'm speaking of getting the internet connection, having a router so that we've got Wi-Fi. Yeah, but okay, we don't have the internet at the barn. Let's
You
get.
need the internet, and then you can get your router to work with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we've got.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. It was great to see and hear from you all, and we'll talk to you next month.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Goodbye.